a chair that's not on wheels? If I could take a little bit of hopping on one, maybe I can see. I can.
There you go, right here. Oh, yeah, there's one. Right here. Right here.
Well, that's a chance.
Got two.
Got two. Okay, one for each leg. Yes.
There we go.
Thank everybody for being here. Thank everyone for what you're doing. Look, I know as a mayor, and once a mayor, always a mayor, that mayors get things done.
That's right.
Back when I was mayor and our state legislature was not always acting with the interests of our city at heart, I thought if we just had more mayors in our state capital, we'd be getting more done. So I'm very excited now that we do have a state legislature doing really important, really good things, that we're going to preserve and expand the Michigan Democratic majority by sending Mayor Mahoney back or out to Lansing to make sure he represents. Thank you for standing up to bring working people's voices to the United States Congress, because we've had it with this anti-union, pro-tax cuts for the rich Congress that, remember, this when you see them saying these wacky things, just the most bizarre things coming out of some of the members of the Republican House. Remember, this is not some model Congress in the high school. This is the United States Congress writing laws that all of us have to live by. We better make sure there's some common sense out there, and there will be a lot more of it when she is part of a majority, making Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House. I'm here in a personal capacity, including as a Michigander.
That's right.
We moved to this state a few years ago, not because it's the center of the political universe, although you are, and I hope you know it, but because we want to make sure that our kids would grow up close to their grandparents. And that's really why we're in it. I had a reminder of why I'm campaigning this morning. Because I was reaching into my suitcase to pull out my dress socks I was going to put on. Instead I found this, which I've been looking for. It's got a little tractor on it. It reminds me, this belongs to, we got a boy and a girl, a son and a daughter, twins, Gus and Penelope, 3 years old. And it reminds me about why we're actually here. What's at stake right now? Among other things, our son, who's shown an intense interest in heavy equipment, if he winds up deciding to be an operating engineer or maybe a laborer, he's going to have the right to join a union.
That's right.
Of the things that are on the line right now, by making sure we have the right Congress, the right State House, and yes, by making sure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. Now, all eyes are on Michigan, as I'm sure you know. I could be anywhere. I could be in any state in the union. I could be on national television. I could be in the White House, and the first thing people say, because I know I live in Michigan, is, "How's it going in Michigan?" This race could come down to a couple of votes per precinct right here in this state. Jackson could be the decider. And so I'm so thankful that you're out here knocking on doors and talking to people, because that could make all the difference in the world. Look, I want you to remember that we are already in a very, very strong position, for the simple reason that most Americans agree with us on what we ought to do as a country. Most Americans already agree with us that a good economy is not one where the president's focused on tax cuts for the rich. A good economy is where the president's focused on making life more affordable for the rest of us, with things like $35 incentive, and a child tax credit, and paid family leave, and the right to join a union, and a higher minimum wage, and all the other things we're doing to make sure this economy works for us.
That's right.
Most Americans already agree with us that if we want to keep the next generation safe, that's not about stopping a politically unpopular paperback from coming into a school library. It's about making sure assault weapons don't get anywhere near our school grounds. People are already with us, believing that in a fair country, you get to be who you are and love who you love.
Yep.
Makes her own health care and reproductive. So don't fall into that old Democratic habit of assuming that because we believe in something, it must be unpopular.
Right.
People are with us, but we got to knock on doors, especially in a community like this. Because a community like this reminds me an awful lot about the community I grew up in. We were the hometown of the Studebaker Auto Company. It closed in 1963, and people were still talking about it when I became mayor 50 years later. We had seen our peak population, and they told us that our city was dying. They told us the union jobs were gone. They told us we were done making things. Only for us to see as our city rose up and insisted, no, we are not dying, that the factories began to rise out of the ground, especially under the Biden-Harris administration's policy of investing in manufacturing right here at home.
That's right. Woo!
But people are skeptical because they've seen people come and go and make a lot of promises. They saw the last guy promise an infrastructure bill. That didn't come to much. In fact, he didn't keep most of the promises. As far as I can tell, and I've been counting, he's kept exactly 2 promises. He didn't keep his promise to do infrastructure. He didn't keep his promise to give us 6% economic growth. He didn't even keep that promise he made to that mob on January 6th when he said, you go to the Capitol and I'll be right there with you. He kept 2 promises. He promised to demolish the right to choose in this country, and he did it. And he promised to cut taxes for the rich, and he did it. The promises that we make and keep are the ones that people around here actually want to see kept because they're going to make people better off in their everyday lives.
Yep.
That's why we're doing it.
Woo!
That, and we're putting forward candidates with integrity. Never in my life have more Republicans said this time, even though I don't agree with her, you got to vote for the Democrat because it's the right thing to do for the United States.
Woo!
Did you ever think you'd be part of a coalition that extended from Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney with Taylor Swift and Beyonce? So there's a wind at your back. Most people agree with us, and we know that we've got the right policies and the right leadership. But, just because you win a policy argument doesn't mean you get to win the election.
Yep.
That's why what you're doing right now is the most important thing in politics. Yes, speeches matter. Yes, TV appearances matter. I'm about to do a couple from here as soon as we're done with our time together. But the most important thing by far, and the research confirms this, the most important thing by far is having an actual conversation.
Yep.
A conversation with people who are making up their mind on how to vote. And even more than this, conversations with people who are making up their mind on whether to vote. Asking them, do you have a plan to vote? Letting them know, I like that, Mayor, letting them know that we don't know how people vote. Your vote is rightfully private. But we do know whether you voted.
Yeah.
If you haven't voted yet, we're checking in on it.
Yeah.
To encourage you to exercise that democratic right. To vote early, or vote on election day, but vote and bring somebody with you. Because so much depends on that. And we are such a tapestry. Different people have different ways of coming at this, but we're reminding people that whatever background you come from, there's a place for you in the coalition that we're building. That's part of what I love about this campaign. These hats reminding us that camo hats don't belong to a political party.
That's right.
Yeah. The American flag doesn't belong to a political party.
Woo!
God does not belong to a political party.
That's right.
So what I want you to do as you're doing that all-important work, taking that walk packet, knocking on doors, and I know maybe a few of you, it's the most natural thing in the world to go up to strangers and talk to them about politics. If that's you, more power to you. Not me. We're Midwesterners. That's not our natural way. We don't even, if we order a burger and they bring us chicken nuggets, we don't even send it back. And now I'm asking you to go talk to strangers about politics. I know that doesn't come naturally. But there's a lot of folks who are with us on the issues, and there's other folks who just want to get politics out of their face. And actually, one of the best ways to do that is to put Donald Trump in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to say is, more than anything else, think about why you're here. You're in this room with us, with each other, when you could be doing any number of things. Pretty sure the Lions are about to kick off.
Yeah.
A lot of other things you could be doing, but you're here. And you are the world's expert on whatever propelled you into this room to choose to spend this day in this way. What was it? Be willing to share that. I'll tell you mine. I told you a little bit about my son. Between him and my daughter, that's all the motivation I need.
That's right.
My day starts, if I'm lucky, it starts a little bit before dawn when they come in the room to wake us up. Otherwise, it starts about 3 in the morning. And one of them comes barging through, usually our daughter. The door flies open. She kind of hear those little feet. She comes running up to the bed. And she comes to tell me about a dream she just had. She doesn't say, I just had a dream. She doesn't even have that vocabulary yet. But when a toddler tells you, the dinosaur get me, you know what she means. And I get to put my arm around her. or my husband does, whichever one of us is more awake. When it's me, I say, you're totally safe. No dinosaur is going to get you. I will not let any dinosaur come into this home. On my watch, you have a guaranteed dinosaur-free night. You can go right on back to bed. And it feels good as a dad to be able to make a promise to my child that I'm 100% sure is going to come true.
Yeah.
With zero effort on my part.
It's free.
But what brings me here is that the most important promises we make to our kids are not ones that are going to come 100% true with zero effort. They take some work. I want to be able to promise her, just as sure as she doesn't have to worry about dinosaurs coming into the room, I want to be able to promise her that she's going to have more rights and not fewer rights in the ground.
Yep. Woo!
I want to be able to promise her and her brother that by the time they're old enough to be going to middle school or high school, only thing they ought to worry about is middle school and high school stuff,
Yes.
like getting to a class and whose lunch table to sit at, not whether they're going to be physically safe.
Yeah.
We got to work to make sure that's a reality.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I want to promise them that the air that they breathe and the water that they drink is as safe as what was handed to our generation. And when we do that, we're going to be reminded that this process, even though we know what we're up against, we're getting another spoonful of it out of that rally he's having right now, but this isn't what we're against. At least it's not only what we're against. It's about what we're for.
Yeah.
It's not just what we're blocking here. It's what we're building here.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make us proud. By the time they're old enough, and I can tell it sooner than I'm ready, by the time they're old enough to look me in the eye and say, Papa, what were you doing back in the 2020s? Back when our country seemed like it could go this way or that way.
Yep.
And it was that close. What were you doing? And I'll be able to tell them, I was out there on the trail. I was in a room full of people from all walks of life in Jackson, Michigan.
That's right.
Making sure that you have the clean air and the safe community and the full freedom and rights that you have today. I'll say that what we did back then in the 2020s is part of the reason why right now you are living and breathing and working and voting in something we hadn't yet quite seen back in the 2020s, which is a truly representative, authentically inclusive, multiracial democracy at scale on American soil. Wouldn't that be something? That's why I'm here. Think about why you're here, and are you ready to deliver that better future?
Yep.
Are you ready to make us proud of what we did during this tender moment in American history?
Yep.
Are you ready to make sure Michigan produces a victory for Kamala Harris?
Yep.
Then we can't lose Michigan. We're going to be high-fiving on Wednesday. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, Pete. Woo!